The number on the screen never feels real at first. You stare at it for a while, then refresh the page even though nothing has changed. The balance is still there, $500. In the real world, it is not a life-changing amount of money. It is not enough to impress anyone, not enough to make you feel secure, and not enough to change your future. But inside that trading account, it feels different. It feels like a beginning. You funded the account on a Tuesday night with money you were supposed to use for something else. You do not tell anyone, not because you are exactly hiding it, but because saying it out loud would make the decision feel too real. The platform loads, the chart appears, and the balance sits there quietly. $500. For one strange moment, it feels like a door has opened in a wall you've been staring at your entire life. So you buy something. You do not fully know why you chose that one. Maybe you saw it mentioned in a forum. Maybe someone on YouTube said it was about to move. Maybe the chart simply looked like it wanted to go up. And then it does. Not by much, only $43, but you close the trade anyway because you are afraid the profit will disappear. When the balance moves from $500 to $543, something happens inside you. It is not just happiness. It feels like proof. It feels like confirmation of something you secretly wanted to believe about yourself. Maybe you are different. Maybe you see things other people miss. Maybe the life you have been living is not the life you are stuck with. So you open another trade almost immediately. This time, it moves against you. At first, you stay calm. You tell yourself it will come back because it always comes back. You read that somewhere. So you wait for 1 hour, then 1 day, then 2 days. It does not come back. Finally, you close the trade with a $67 loss, and your account is back to $476. You do not sleep well that night, but not because you are finished. Not because the loss scared you away. You do not sleep because you are already thinking about the next trade. That is the part nobody warns you about at the first level. The loss does not stop you, it accelerates you. The next morning you add another $200 and tell yourself it is an investment in your education. At this level, the market feels like a living thing. It has moods, it has intentions, it feels personal. When it moves in your direction, you feel chosen. When it moves against you, you feel attacked. You have not learned yet that the market does not know you exist. By the end of the month, your account is down to $390. You call it tuition. And because that word makes the pain feel useful, you keep going. If you want the tools, resources, or links connected to this story, click below description. Months pass, and you are no longer brand new. You have been doing this for 7 months. You have read 3 books, watched more trading videos than you can count, and spent more hours studying charts than sleeping properly. Now, you have what you call a system. Entry rules, a watch list, and a trading notebook where you track your trades by hand, because you heard serious traders do that. You deposit $5,000. The money comes from savings, sacrifices, and a few decisions you do not examine too closely. But the moment the balance appears, everything feels heavier. This is not the same as the $500 account. A 2% loss is not $10 anymore, it is $100. You feel it differently now, you feel it in your chest. You sit in front of the screen and your hands move slower than before. You think this is progress, and in some ways it is. You begin to see patterns. Not the clean patterns from beginner videos, not the perfect textbook examples with arrows and circles, but real patterns. Messier ones. The kind you cannot fully explain, but you can feel building before the move happens. Then one afternoon, you catch a clean move. You make $340 in 20 minutes. You sit back in your chair and stare at the screen. For a moment, you feel like you have cracked something. It feels like the game has finally shown you a piece of itself. Your girlfriend asks what you are doing, and you say, just working on something. She does not push it. The account grows to $6,800. Then it pulls back to $5,200. Then one day you take a trade around a news event you thought you understood. You misread it. The position moves violently against you, and in 40 minutes, the account is down to $4,100. You stare at the screen, but you do not close it. You sit with it and tell yourself you are being patient. Then you open another position in the opposite direction, trying to hedge, but it only makes things worse. By the end of the day, the account is at $3,600. You tell no one. You add $1,400 to bring it back to $5,000, but you do not write that part in the notebook. That is where the hidden accounting begins. There are now 2 versions of your trading history, the one you track and the one you quietly leave out. You write down the $340 win. You remember the day you felt sharp, but the $1,400 deposit disappears from the story. Not because you are lying exactly, but because you are editing, you are curating, you are starting to protect the identity more than the money. And once you start doing that, trading becomes more dangerous. Because now losing money is not the only threat. Being wrong about who you think you are becomes the real threat. Eventually, you cross into the next level, the $25,000 account. For most people, it is just a number. For you, it feels like a gate. The pattern day trader rule is no longer standing in your way. You can finally trade the way you always thought you were supposed to trade. Unlimited trades, more freedom, more opportunity, more responsibility than you understand yet. The money took almost 2 years to gather. Some came from your salary, some came from side work, and some came from choices that looked responsible from the outside and questionable from the inside. But now the account is funded. And for the first time, you do not feel like someone who trades. You feel like a trader. There is a difference. You feel it when you wake up before the market opens. You feel it when checking futures becomes the first thing you do before your mind is even fully awake. You have 2 monitors now, a scanner, a data subscription, and a private Discord group where people share ideas. You pay for that too. Everything around you has started to support the same identity. You are not experimenting anymore. You are becoming this person. But at this level, a new kind of pressure appears. Consistency. Before this, a good month could feel like proof. A lucky streak could feel like skill. But now you are tracking everything. Win rate, average winner, average loser, profit factor, drawdown, expectancy. The numbers start telling a story, and the story is not as clean as the one in your head. You have 3 losing weeks in a row. Nothing catastrophic, nothing that blows up the account, but the losses are consistent enough to mean something. You are doing something wrong repeatedly, and you do not know exactly what it is. That is one of the most dangerous places in trading. Skilled enough to know you are wrong, but not skilled enough to know why. So you hire a trading coach for $2,000. He tells you things you technically already know. Cut losses faster, size down. Wait for confirmation. Stop forcing trades. But what he really gives you is not information. He gives you permission to trust yourself again, and somehow that feels worth the money, even if it also feels a little disturbing. Because you realize how much of trading is not about knowing what to do. It is about being able to do it when the screen is moving and your money is involved. The year ends with the account at $31,000. You are profitable, but you are not good yet. And that distinction matters. Profitability can happen before maturity, but if maturity does not catch up, the market eventually collects the difference. If you want the full links, notes, or resources related to this video, click below description. Then comes the $100,000 account. It happens faster than you expected and slower than you hoped. One day the number is there. 6 figures. A year earlier, this would have felt impossible. Now it simply feels like a working balance. That is the first sign something inside you has changed. The money no longer feels like money in the normal sense. It has become a tool, and tools do not impress you. You need this account size to take the positions you take. You need it to absorb drawdowns. You need it to survive variance. You trade real size now. You move in and out of positions that most people will never see in their brokerage account. Before lunch, you may manage more money than you used to dream about having, and somehow, none of it feels fully real anymore. Your relationship ends around this time. There's no huge fight, no dramatic scene, and no single moment where everything falls apart. She simply says you are somewhere else even when you are in the room. You do not argue because she is right. You both know it. There's nothing left to explain. Sometimes you think about her in the quiet space between one trade closing and another setup forming. Then the next setup appears and you stop thinking about it. That is how the market starts to take space in your life. Not all at once, but gradually. It does not kick the door down. It moves in quietly. First into your mornings, then into your evenings, then into your weekends, then into your relationships, and finally into your identity. At the $100,000 level, you finally begin to understand what edge really means. It is not a pattern, not a strategy, and not a secret indicator. Edge is a statistical reality that needs enough occurrences to prove itself and enough capital to survive the ugly parts while it proves itself. Most people quit or blow up before their sample size is large enough to teach them anything meaningful. You understand that now because you almost became one of them. You also begin to understand what the market really is. Not a machine, not a puzzle, and not some clean system waiting to be solved. It is a collection of people making decisions in real time with incomplete information and conflicting incentives. When you buy, someone else sells. Someone is wrong, and sometimes that person is you. You are in a zero-sum environment dressed up to look like opportunity. That is not cynicism, that is clarity. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You start finding other people who understand this. They talk differently, quieter, less excitement, less hype, no dramatic alerts, no fake certainty. They ask boring questions, but they ask them precisely. Risk, size, execution, liquidity, slippage, process. You feel more comfortable around them than you do around most people now. And you notice something else. Normal conversations have started to annoy you. Not because you are better than anyone, but because your mind has been trained to search for precision, and most of life does not speak that way. Then comes the $500,000 account, $500,000, your name attached to it, and somehow you do not feel like celebrating. Not because you are trying to look humble, not because you are performing discipline for an imaginary camera. You genuinely do not feel much. What you feel is pressure, low, stable, and constant, the kind that does not spike because it never leaves. You feel it when you wake up. You feel it on weekends when the market is closed. You feel it at dinner with your parents when they ask how things are going, and you say, "Good," then change the subject. Your entries are different now. Cleaner, more patient, almost surgical. You wait in a way that would be unrecognizable to the version of you who funded that first $500 account. There are trades you will not touch if the spread is wrong. There are setups you skip because the liquidity is not right. There are rules you have violated only twice in 4 years, and both times you paid immediately, as if the market had been watching. Maybe that is superstition. Maybe that is pattern recognition. At this point, you are no longer completely sure where one ends and the other begins. You start to feel liquidity now. You're big enough that your own orders matter in certain names. On thinly traded stocks, you can see yourself in the tape. You have become part of the machine you used to watch from the outside. That should feel powerful. Sometimes it does, but most of the time it feels like responsibility without ceremony. You do not talk about the account size, not because someone told you not to, but because you have seen what happens when people find out. The look changes, the calculations begin. You can see people processing what you might be worth, what you might do, and what you might provide, and you would rather not participate in that version of the relationship. Your social life becomes smaller, then smaller again. You tell yourself it is necessary. Focus requires sacrifice. You will reconnect later, after the next milestone. You have been saying that since $25,000. Then the account crosses $2 million. Somewhere around this level, the nature of the game changes. You are not just trading anymore. Not exactly. You are allocating, managing exposure, thinking about portfolio construction, correlation, drawdown curves, risk-adjusted returns, tax structure, entity setup, and execution quality. The vocabulary changes. And when the vocabulary changes, the work changes too. You spend more time in spreadsheets than on charts. You have a lawyer now, an accountant who understands traders, and a broker relationship you negotiated yourself. Problems appear that have nothing to do with whether you can read price action, compliance, taxes, structure, documentation. The system starts treating you differently because the money is large enough to require structure. You are no longer just a person with a skill. You are an operation. You meet other people at this level occasionally, but not often. And the conversations feel different, careful, measured, almost formal, even when the setting is casual. Everyone is assessing. No one shows their full hand. The easy camaraderie from the old Discord days is gone. At this level, there is professional respect and strategic interest, but those things are not the same as friendship. You are very good at what you do now. You know this without needing to say it. There's no arrogance in it. It is just a fact, like knowing your height. You have survived different market conditions, crashes, squeezes, slow grinds, news cycles, liquidity shocks, periods where nothing works, and periods where everything works so well that it becomes dangerous too. Through all of it, the account keeps growing. The evidence is there. But the account does not show the cost. Not the financial cost. The personal one. The version of you who funded that first $500 account on a Tuesday night is still somewhere in your memory. Excited, naive, half terrified, and fully alive. You can describe that person. You can remember how they felt. But you do not have access to them anymore. It is not exactly grief. It feels more like looking at an old photograph of someone who used to live in your house before you moved in. Then comes the 8-figure account. The call comes at 6 a.m. Not urgent. Nothing is urgent in the way people imagine at this level. It is scheduled, professional, and controlled. The person on the other end exists to help make sure your capital is positioned correctly before the open. You take the call in the kitchen, make coffee while listening, say 3 words, and hang up. You have crossed into a tier where money creates problems that only more sophisticated money management can solve. Tax events require restructuring. Positions require pre-negotiated execution. Relationships with desks at firms you used to see on financial news are now contacts in your phone. You do not speak to those people casually, not the way you used to speak to people. At this level, there is no real community. No forum, no Discord, no group chat, full of people trying to figure it out together. There are only a small number of people operating at this scale. Most of them you will never meet. The ones you do meet, you do not fully trust, and they do not fully trust you either. That is not paranoia. It is the correct posture, and everyone understands it without saying it. You live well. That part is true, and it matters to say it clearly. You live very well. The apartment is exceptional. The car is whatever you want it to be. Travel is first class, sometimes private. Food, comfort, access, and convenience have mostly disappeared as problems, but you notice something with a strange kind of detachment. The removal of friction does not create happiness. It creates clarity. You can now see that material comfort at this level is not a destination. It is a temperature. You maintain it like everything else, deliberately and without much feeling. Sometimes you think about that $340 afternoon. Not exactly with nostalgia, but more like noticing a variable that no longer exists in the equation. The feeling of that win was possible because the stakes were still understandable. The outcome was uncertain. You were fully present. You could still be surprised. And that is the part you did not know you were trading away. Not just relationships, not just years, and not just the younger version of yourself, but surprise itself. The shock of a win. The physical feeling of a small account moving in the right direction. The belief that one good trade could change everything. Nothing in the market tomorrow will make you feel the way that $340 made you feel in a small apartment with $500 on the line. The market opens. You watch the first few minutes without touching anything. Old habit. You have done it for so long that it is not discipline anymore, it is reflex. Muscle memory built through years of loss, recovery, patience, fear, repetition, and slow competence. Somewhere right now on another trading platform, another balance reads $500. Someone just clicked buy. They do not know what they do not know, and that ignorance feels like confidence. The confidence feels like proof, and the proof will be shattered eventually. What gets built in its place will cost more than they are ready to calculate right now. You know this not because you are smarter than them. You know it because you were them. The screen flickers. You place the order. Somewhere, someone has just stepped into the game. They think it is simple. They are wrong, but they will learn. And if you want the resources, links, or tools connected to this story, click below description.